About 60 minutes out from the first race on this Wednesday, final week of February, shortly getting underway here at Gulfstream Park. A big week, no question about it, and the perfect weather to match. In fact, with 55 on the clock, the start of this final week of February with Acacia Courtney and Jason Blewett gives us back-to-back 12-horse fields on a fast and firm Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly will take that. It's a beautiful day, as Jason did mention, and we're looking forward to kicking off a fantastic week, which, of course, is highlighted this Saturday by the Fasig-Tipton Fountain of Youth, which the field for which we will draw a little bit later on after the first race. The balance of the card will be drawn as regularly scheduled, so you can look forward to that, but there's a lot going on this week that we're excited about.
Definitely, even before Saturday's big Fountain of Youth program, we've got nearly $168,000 waiting for you in that 12% takeout Stronach 5. Race number 8 at Laurel Park will get the sequence underway. We've got a couple of races here at GP in the mix as well, the 8th and the 10th on a card where Todd Pletcher also brings back Eve of War, who was so good first out. She's running in the 9th race.
Yeah, debuted on Super Bowl Sunday. Very impressive run, and just another to add to the list of impressive maiden winners recently for Todd Pletcher. So we'll see how she does stack up. And there's the sequence, as Jason mentioned, that low takeout and that carryover has been the buzz the last week or so. I know it's a very popular wager, and we hope that you take part as well. It always pays great, and it's a lot of excitement in a relatively short amount of time.
Last year's winner of the Fasig-Tipton Fountain of Youth, which will be run in a race with a ton of history yet another time this Saturday, was Code of Honor, who's been the highlight horse in the graphic we've been running, and for good reason. Not only did he win the Fountain for Shug McGahee, he would go on to take the Travers and the Jockey Club Gold Cup in that disqualification over Vino Rosso. There he is alongside, or at least beneath, Hall of Famer Johnny V. 9 stakes this Saturday, February 29th.
Yeah, looking forward to that. And as you said, we'll draw the Fountain of Youth and the rest of the card this afternoon. Of course, we have the Devonadale. We'll see their 3-year-old fillies in the spotlight of one of my favorite races, the McDermott, going a distance on the turf. Looking forward to that, where we will potentially see Pegasus World Cup turf winner Zulu Alpha back in the Gulfstream Mile, shaping up to be a very strong race. Mr. Freeze in there. I spoke to Kieran McLaughlin this morning about Heikel and Drew Timber turning back in distance to run the mile. So really salty field, and it's going to be a great card all day.
I love hearing Zulu Alpha's coming back to run yet again. I mean, the way the handicap division has shaped out the last few years with the Pegasus Dirt winner, those horses didn't run all that often per se. In some cases, didn't run after the Pegasus. So it is nice to see him back pairing up starts here this championship season at Gulfstream Park. And a championship season worthy 6-figure guarantee in the Jackpot Rainbow 6. No carryovers outside the guarantee on the program, Acacia, on this 10-race Wednesday, February 26th. Luis Saez in the mix.
And a thread of blue, who we'll see back this Saturday as well, according to Kieran. So he'll be stretching out in distance, too. So we've got some nice box office stars that we're looking forward to seeing back, and certainly horses we're well familiar with here at Gulfstream.
And Luis Saez here in photo form only, because he, along with the Rod Ortiz Jr. and a couple of other guys, have made the trek across the globe, essentially, to the desert, to Saudi Arabia. Maximum security, waiting in the wings against Mucho Gusto in the Saudi Cup.
That's right, and that'll certainly be something you can watch here at Gulfstream. Silks will be open. You'll be able to take part in viewing that, and we'll be cheering on the horses we saw and the riders we're used to here at Gulfstream.
Definitely. Now, Todd Pletcher may not have anything coming up Saturday, at least as far as the Fountain of Youth field is concerned, but he's a major player in the first, looking to build upon his meat-leading 33 wins. I'd imagine you used his horse here in race 1 to start the pick 5.
I did, and Jason and I were talking about this a little bit before the start of the show. I had personally liked Weatherford in this spot did end up scratching, so I was kind of forced to use Wordman on top, who is the horse to beat. Not the easiest horse to trust. $200,000 Bodemeister colt that they debuted for 32, now in for 25. Maybe he's just going to find the right spot, and I will take a horse who has speed and has run well at this level. In the seven, Young Raymond. I wanted to include Beach Traffic in the second race. Just could not leave that horse off when I was putting this ticket together. Some tricky races down the line as well. You've got Joyous Times, who won well first time out, Glorious Gal in the third race, and the fourth race, and a little nice maiden special weight tucked in there as well. I'm curious as to what we're going to get to see from the 7 Felix the Fox off the layoff for Shug McGahee, and I'll wrap it up with 2 for a $36 play.
1 and 5 closing things out in the 5th race, a field of 11. Those are 3-year-old fillies on the turf course. You've got the Todd Firster there by Candy Ride and Crystalina, and I am definitely a big fan of the 5 Memphis Showboat, who I wrote my analysis on today. Think she's going to improve quite a bit second time out. More on that 5th race field in a few seconds, but in mentioning Todd Pletcher, he clearly has the likely favorite, and by race time, I think you'll see probably some separation between the 6 Wordman and the 7 Young Raymond from a good majority of this field, as these two 3-year-olds, one a colt, one a gelding, come out of the same race here, a turf sprint on January 30th. To us, I think you're probably, like me, giving the edge, considering Wordman was a first-time starter that day, even though Young Raymond beat this horse fair and square for second.
Yeah, and I saw a scenario where Putman could potentially kind of force the pace a little bit, as Young Raymond's best weapon is his speed. That said, he's run 2 very good races since moving to Gilberto Zerpa's barn. We'll see if he can take a step forward today. Just thinking, slight drop, second time out for Wordman. Maybe we're going to see a little bit of a stronger performance from him. And they were actually identical prices first time out. I think that they might be a little bit evenly matched. These are the big 2, but I think immediately when looking at this race, you see Todd Pletcher, and obviously it's kind of like the neon lights flashing in the opener.
Definitely. If you want another horse, I think for most, it'll likely be the Firster, the 11 Officer Country, who debuts for the Ramseys with trainer Wesley Ward out of a Smoke Lacken Dam. This pedigree, though, the Dam won 3 times sprinting on the dirt. I'm sure you saw Older Brother by Stroll, who is a winner on the grass.
Yep, one on the turf and was multiple stakes placed as well. So we'll see what this one does. Has been working well on the Palmettos turf course and was purchased for $42,000 at Keeneland January. So debuting for $25,000, it's not necessarily a dip in class or anything like that.
Just 4 races today as we move forward, everybody, into another 12-horse field to cap the early double. And our opening race on the fast main track is a cast of 3-year-old 12-5 to 10-5 claimers. I don't really have a super strong opinion in this race, Acacia. It's a very hard race. I mean, clearly you're dealing with, on the dirt anyway, a pretty big dip in class for the 7 Bryans Avenue. You've got the speedy horse in the 6 Took a Cab, who's very dangerous. I'm taking a new face here, the 2 Beach Traffic, who has had 2 relatively nondescript races on the dirt so far at a much higher level. In a field like this, that's good enough for me as he moves off the turf.
His only recent main track races were against Special Weight Company at Monmouth, so this is clearly a very big dip in class, and I did think that was going to be key. However, especially in these lower level claiming races like this, to me, having speed is sometimes just going to be kind of one of the more important things, and I think Took a Cab, picking up Amicia Jaramillo, very good on the front end. He's going to obviously take note of the fact that there's not a ton of speed in here, and especially with the stretch out in distance, I'm hoping he just puts him on the front end and he runs away from the rest of the field.
Let's move back to the turf on to Wednesday's 3rd, bringing on these 3-year-old fillies in a $50,000 to $40,000 claiming race. And up first, I think in a way, in many respects, the number 5 Joyous Times, despite only running once, might be the horse to beat off a very solid, good figure for the level debut. And we'll backtrack to that race back on January 8th, which ultimately prompted the private sale and then immediate trainer change from Kathy Ritvo over to Steve Caceres. This filly by Kitten's Joy did everything right, where she had good speed. She tracked outside more or less in the 2 path, and she will be running like her tail was on fire, trying to hold off the closers here. I mean, everybody's in hot pursuit, and it'll get pretty close as they near the finish line. She'll get the nod. Just a good effort. Like I said, the figure was good, and she's a second-time starter off just a very solid debut. I don't think you're going to see anywhere close to 6 to 1. I consider her the filly filly to beat here.
I would think so, too. I mean, she was 19-1 in her first start, and she was kind of an unknown at that point. Now we know what she can do. I don't know what price my horse will be, but I like her in here. The 6 Glorious Gal, when I saw her on January 1st, her first time with Orsino, I looked at her and I said, why has she never been on the turf before? Why is this her first turf race? And I hadn't actually used her when looking at handicapping because it was more of a physical standpoint than just handicapping on paper. She took a lot of money that day, and then she ended up winning her only turf race. Was taken off of the turf last time. She's in for the $50,000 tag. To me, she's a turf horse. I like her getting back on the grass. Hopefully, I'll get a little price, and I really like her in this spot.
A little bit of a Hail Mary and maybe a wild card type layer with the number 1 Dienda, who kept some good company, was pretty precocious last summer as a 2-year-old before the Florida Sire Stakes. Here's her latest workout, and I pulled it because I do think it's noteworthy seeing her action, and she's a little itty-bitty filly by Cantharos, very, very small and on the petite side, so to speak, on a warm training morning north of us at Boynton Beach. I'm curious, Acacia, your take on her action getting over the grass.
I thought it was okay. She's by Cantharos. She can certainly have on the top side the versatility to handle the grass. She got over it fine. She is very small, as you mentioned. And when you have a horse that has some ability, she's a Florida bred in the summer, you want to keep her on the dirt to try those Florida Sire Stakes races. I certainly can understand that. And they gave her time off after that. She came back with a no-go on the dirt last time. So I agree, maybe Hail Mary's the word. We'll see how she takes to it. I thought she was fine. It wasn't anything that blew me away. So maybe it's just, again, maybe it's going to be a case of meeting the right spot.
That would have been the case last time out as we flip the page and move on to Wednesday's 4th for the number 2 Beau Luminary had it not been for the presence of a 1-5 first-time starter in Fearless. Let's backtrack to that race 3 days before Christmas Day as this gelding by I Want Revenge really takes it to the big 1-5 favorite who's down inside in Fearless. Now, I do think this is a noteworthy replay, although I think, and I'm curious your opinion, Acacia, Fearless will fight back and turn back Beau Luminary in a good race for both horses. Yet the Fearless we saw first to second start, I think in many respects it was a night and day type improvement.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Fearless getting some more distance the next time out. I think that is a very talented horse for Todd Pletcher and one that has a big future. And unfortunately, Beau Luminary has found Todd in both of his starts with Fearless, Soldado, and the debut way back in February of 2019. So now another little layoff, stretching out in distance. I think this horse will appreciate that as well. And it's interesting, both in his action and seeing him physically, I thought he might kind of be the kind of horse that would like the turf. We'll give him another try on the dirt today. I think his last race was very solid, but I was very intrigued by the 7 Felix the Fox, who's, I know he's a long-time maiden. Normally, I'm not a fan of horses like this, but I did find a stat that will show you on Shug McGahee. With horses with this kind of layoff on the dirt with maidens special weight in particular, very strong numbers. When he gives them time off, even if they haven't broken their maiden yet, when they come back, they're ready to roll. And this one's been training forwardly at Payson, 24% win, 57% of the time in the money. Javier Castellano up. And I know, obviously, there's a little bit more recency with Beau Luminary and a more lightly raced horse, but this is one who's been running greater distances, keeping some solid company. So I'll give him a little bit of a try today.
He's faced better fields along the way. Identifier, Country House, Signal Man, Epic Dreamer. Does he simply meet the right field with the good stat for Shug off the layoff for Hall of Famer Javier Castellano? The 7 Felix the Fox. As we take a little time out, we'll talk about the Rainbow 6 with the big guarantee after this.
It's the dawn of a new day in racing. All attention is on the safety of the horses from more professionals than ever before. Our eyes are on the prize to gallop past the old era towards a reinvention of our sport. Take your place with us now. This is it. The future of racing is off and running. It's all happening at each of our world-class venues. Our new vision for racing will drive us past the finishing line, heralding a new era for the sport. When betting, avoid the rush and allow First Bet to give you a leg up. Our app uses real-time data to help you make your bets with confidence. Enjoy a new vision for post-race entertainment. From the oval to the stage, the after party, and beyond. We invite you to the future of racing. A first of its kind.
41 minutes out on a quiet Wednesday here at Gulfstream Park. A busy work tab this morning given the beautiful weather, perfect weather for thoroughbred racing. And we've got that double wide turf course and 6 races, in fact. Grass wins the majority on this Wednesday, February 26th. Acacia and Jason back with you from our clubhouse studios high above the finish line. And as we move closer to the big Saturday card with the early post of 11:30, we can't help but remind everybody the man is up and beat the expert this Friday.
Well, that's right. Hopefully you're doing everything. Hopefully you're playing Beat the Expert. You're playing the Stronach 5 with that carryover. You're ready to roll for the 9 stakes on Saturday. And what a good way to kick it off. The one, the only, Ron Nicoletti is up for Beat the Expert. You can enter on our Facebook page of the Gulfstream Park website. Don't forget, get your picks in, and you could win one of those cool polo shirts.
Definitely. Absolutely. And they are cool.
They're
and
very cool.
They don't look... You know, you could be half as lucky as Ronnie and look as good in a polo shirt as the great Ron Nicoletti. Love that picture of Ronnie, still going strong. And we move on. Speaking of going strong, $350,000, the jackpot Rainbow Six guarantee. You're going to take a little stab here at the ticket.
Yes, I will. Here's my, it's rather inexpensive today as I did have a single. So I'm using 3 horses. I ended up including Florado in race number 5, which I didn't in the cash out of my early pick 5. I actually thought that sequence was a little bit tougher, wanting some more coverage. But I thought maybe Maker first off the claim, trying the turf. Let's throw him in for some coverage. Too deep in the 6, and my single just comes in the 7th race. Valdaco, I know he's off of a bit of a layoff, but with the drop, with the speed, he just really seems to be a standout to me in this field. So I'll just hang my hat on that one, which allowed me a little bit more flexibility to spread in a couple of other races, as I thought the 8th race was very tricky today. Baccarat Fashion will likely be a short price, and the 9th coming out of the inside information, but I'm pretty intrigued by Day, who's been very good recently as well, and then wanting 3 horses in the nightcap.
Turf nightcap. As we end things, Mike Maker in the mix there with the likely favorite who's coming out of a good effort and a little quasi-trouble for that horse, which we'll expound upon in a few seconds. Mike Maker also very much in action here with the 2. Florida, who's off the claim, second foal out of a dam, who was 0 for 5 altogether and 0 for 2 on the turf. That filly by Commissioner. And starting off the claim for trainer Mike Maker, you've got, speaking of trying things for the first time, a first-time starter from the rail for Todd Pletcher and Crystalina. And let's talk about the 2 graduates of D. Wayne Lucas University with Todd and Mike. What are you looking for or expecting, perhaps, Acacia, with the 1 Crystalina?
Well, this horse is interesting. I mean, yes, it's a $185,000 Candy Ride filly debuting for $50. The dam was 0 for 5 totally. She was 0 for 3 in the grass of those 5 races. The sibling, the only other foal she's produced, is 0 for 5 on the racetrack, but has Javier Castellano aboard. Just, I think if you're playing the Rainbow Six, a horse you kind of have to use.
Yep.
It's a little bit tricky to gauge with some of these 6-figure horses that debut for a tag. Normally, these are the ones that I don't completely trust, but sometimes, again, if you want some coverage, I, like you, thought Memphis Showboat had every opportunity to improve. I thought she comes out of a very good race, and also she was a little bit keyed up in her debut. The rider had to get off in the gate. She was just a little bit anxious in total, so I'm hoping second time out she'll be a bit better today.
We watched, and they weren't wins, but seeing in the split divisions Mamina's team come back and just lose a tough one, Linny Kate, who looked like a real nice one for Chad, got an 81 buyer midway through Sunday's card. So Mamina's team, despite not winning, ran a giant race in defeat, and Cat Lady was nearly knocked over into the first turn, and I think was she was best in the first, settled for second. So although you're not talking about a January 19th race that Memphis Showboat exits nearly 40 days ago, that's produced a slew of next out winners. I think we've gotten concrete evidence that was a very, very, very solid field.
I agree with you, and especially when you have kind of some wild cards, I'm very curious to see what we're going to get from Amalfi Queen. I didn't use her, neither did you, but this filly by Tappet coming in for now with Jorge Navarro after debuting with Bob Baffert, monster key race where she didn't really run a step at Los Al in her debut. So I'll be very curious as to what we're going to see.
Should love the turf. The dam herself went winless on the turf, but won 5 synth races. I was looking at her, wondering maybe a broodmare prospect.
Yeah, very interesting horse.
Yeah, very, very interesting to say the least. We don't see many formerly trained by Bob Bafferts around this part. And you've got Jorge Navarro, again, 3 of the top 4 barns gunning for that training title of the winter meter in the mix with Maker, Todd, and, of course, George Navarro. Let's move on to race number 6, Battle Hardened Field. Although we had a key early scratch of the one driven by Thunder, this is the race, one of my favorites on the card, that'll start the Wednesday Fast and Firm Late Pick 5, in which I am 3 deep to start. Almost thought about using Driven by Thunder, but a moot point because he's a scratch. Coverage in races 7, 8, and 9. The ninth race, in fact, just a 4-horse field and 2 very opposite sides of the spectrum type fillies and mares in that race, with Day by Day against Bacharach Fashion. And I'm expecting, although he's had a few chances, my single in race number 10 this afternoon for Mike Maker. That's Crypto Gold, who has had a few different high-profile, very talented trainers and barns in his corner. I'm hoping with that good recent effort off the trainer change to Mike Maker under his belt, he is sitting on a W. So I'm going to try to leverage him for a $24 single in the Wednesday nightcap. But it all begins, Acacia, with a good field and a pretty bulky rematch. In fact, 4 are coming out of that same race here, won by the veteran Zulu on February 6th. Among them, the 2 Discovered, the 3 Sublime Appeal, the 4 Hieroglyphics, and the number 6 Golden Decision. Yet the one key horse not coming out of that race is our top pick, who's in for the 40,000.
Yeah, and this is a horse that you kind of look at Faraway Kitten and you say, okay, well, he was running in grade 3 company 2 starts back. The last time he won, yes, it was July, but he won a grade 3 on that day. And now he is in for the 40. He ran really well in the Tropical Park Derby last time out behind Halliday, and I thought it was a good field all in all. But these are connections that are going to put horses where they can win. This horse hasn't won in a little while, and I've just seen it time and time again with Maker, that a horse that's been competing at a high level, drop him in a little bit, get a win, then step him back up. And sometimes that just happens. Sometimes you need to build up a horse's confidence again, and it just might be the case with this one. However, I did think Hieroglyphics has been very solid recently, and Terry Pompey very dangerous off the claim.
And a field that, after a couple of defections, is on the compact size, not a 12-horse field, and that horse has early speed. Coming out of that blanket finish, that whole field, I mean, really bunched together with Sublime Appeal, nearly pulled off the upset beneath Rajiv, in fact, at nearly 70-1. He's back in the mix with speed, as is Hieroglyphics, and we'll see ultimately if the 40K drop in claiming price for the 7 Faraway Kitten, if it's too good to be true, or he's just a little bit better than the competition in that 6th race. Moving on to your single, Acacia, in Wednesday 7th. We're on the dirt. This is a quote-unquote dated $8,000 claimer for horses that have not won a race since August 26th, and it really is quite succinct and simple. If all is well with the 4 Valdaco, with his speed and his back class, he will bury this field. Question is, it's never that easy, or it shouldn't be that easy, as he comes in off a 5-month layoff.
I know, it almost looks too good to be true. What I did think was encouraging was that when he was claimed, previously with Yvonne Bill's tour, when he was claimed back in March, he had a layoff until June, came back and had a very impressive win that day. I think this is going to be a little bit, obviously, of a tougher spot. There definitely could be some solid horses that he'll deal with, but based off of just his numbers, the quality of the company he's been keeping, his tactical ability, I thought he was a standout in here. He had trouble where he did stumble back in September in his last race, and they've given him time since then. And just look at what he was facing in the summer and fall. This does seem like a logical spot for him coming back in the championship meet. And Christian Torres aboard, and I hope he just runs away from the field.
And that's the thing. Paco right outside. I picked Passionate Hachi, knowing full well if we get close to Valdaco's good effort, Passionate Hachi probably can't beat him. But at least he's A, got Paco, and B's got speed, and C, he's got some recency. I know not all of his recent races are home runs, but he seems like a viable alternative if you just are a little trustworthy there with Valdaco, who, again, that race is very much centered upon him. Let's move on to the 8th. This is Rematch Central. You thought the 4-horse February, what was that, the 2nd with Hieroglyphics and those horses. That was a big rematch. There's even more bold.
These horses are very familiar with
without a doubt. And as we backtrack, let's get right into the replay with Avenida Manana and Isadorable Aida. Both got very similar rides. It was Arad in the blue who essentially followed Amise El Jaramillo in the green there for David Fox and Avenida Manana. Now, they took kind of different signposts, if you will, off the far turn, where Dave's horse in the green cap with Amisael stayed on the fence. Arad got his Adorable Aida out into the 4-path. They'll run 1-2. For his Adorable Aida, though, this loss, although consistently good and sharp and always right in the trenches at crunch time, it's really become a problematic trend with her where she just has not been able to deliver that knockout punch.
Yeah, and obviously you and I agreeing that she's talented. She's been good. I thought her last race was disappointing. However, she's been favored in her last 3 races. She's been close. She just hasn't been able to get the job done. Do note Javier Castellano aboard this today. First off the claim now for Jose D'Angelo. We'll see what we get. She's been popular at the claim box. She's very good at picking up checks. Avenida Manana, definitely the horse to beat. She's been very consistent. Can she make it 3 in a row is the other question. So I took a stab with a horse that I see you like a little bit as well. Hop on the Bus Gus. Dropping in class, so a little bit of a new face in this field with horses that are familiar with each other. Second time in South Florida, had trouble last time out. She took money last time too, so I'm hoping she will fly a little under the radar in a field where you do have some familiar horses.
Yeah, she's kind of the new face if you don't want anybody, because you've got, again, I mean, cavalcades, huge fields that faced each other on January 15th and/or February 5th. She did not run in either of those races. Might be the way to go there in that bulky field in race 8. Moving on to the 9th, our last dirt race on the card, and the technical feature, although after scratches, down to a 4-horse field. And we'll get into the last out effort here, and it was a good-looking effort back on January 31st for Day by Day, who clearly is in raging form right now. Looks like a very smart claim for Drawing Away stable and trainer Jorge Delgado, as she had basically chased the very speedy R Prerogative, put her away, and at the 3/16 pole, she'll really start to separate and pour it on here, getting away from the Shadwell filly, who's 4 or 5 wide, and Sanibel. It's either Day by Day in her good recent form, or you're hoping Bacharach Fashion, who is been out of her element in her last couple of starts. This is a spot, assuming all is well and she's not off form, or those races haven't masked the fact that she's just gone the other way. If she's okay this afternoon, she's a worthy foe to Day by Day.
Oh, she absolutely is. I mean, look, she faced Shug's Pink Sands in 2 of her last 3 races, who's a super quality filly. She faced Jean Elizabeth, who's a win machine. She's just been
at 5 too.
Yeah, she's been incredible recently. And just logged another win at Tampa. So I think Baccarat Fashion, 6 furlongs is a little bit more in her wheelhouse, what she wants, and this just seems like a logical level for her, and it might be a little bit of a relief given the very tough horses she's been facing.
Definitely. So they're the big 2 clearly in that cast of 4. We'll wrap things up. Bigger field, in fact. Race 10, we have 10 at a Iona 16th after scratches. An older $16,000 to $14,000 maiden claimer, in which the trip last time out, although not a nightmarish or crazy tough traffic-filled trip or anything like that, it was still noteworthy with the 8 Crypto Gold, whose biggest enemy might just be his running style, and that he can plod along and doesn't have much early speed, but he still ran a fine race first time for Mike Maker, losing to a 7-5 shot who's in tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, I thought that was definitely a worthy foe that he faced last time, and the problem with both of the horses that I like in this nightcap, and you agree, is that they both kind of have that running style. Bra for Barkley Tag is taking a needed drop in class, gets Amisael Jaramillo. Maybe they want to kind of push him out of the gate a little bit more today, as he just unfortunately has not really been able to be up in the fray early, but maybe the drop will help him this afternoon.
Well, we know Barkley is sitting out this facing Tipton Fountain of Youth with his top 3-year-old, Tiz the Law, who's pointing to the Curlin Florida Derby. But we're all about the game. We love thoroughbred racing, and as this week starts to progress, why don't we take a little trip back in time? 8 years ago already, it's Larry Colmus off the far turn. Here's Union Rags, in fact, into the far turn with Union Rags in the 2012 facing Tipton Fountain of Youth.
Around the far turn, Discreet Dancer, the leader. Union Rags is moving now. There he goes. There goes Union Rags and Julian LaPeroux, and they've taken the lead on the outside. Discreet Dancer has the rail. News Pending is third, and they're into the stretch, and it's Union Rags. Union Rags to the 8th pole, pulling away. And then it's News Pending, Discreet Dancer, followed by Neck and Neck, coming to the wire. Oh, what a comeback! Union Rags by 4 on the wire. And then it was News Pending, Discreet Dancer, and Neck and Neck.